Mike Farag is the founder and CEO of Fervor, a Kansas City agency helping faith-led organizations clarify their message and grow their impact. He left a corporate sales career after a mission trip to Haiti redirected his calling, launching Fervor in 2009. Since then, he's guided nearly 1,000 organizations through brand strategy, and in 2024, he wrote Marketing with Fervor, a book on nonprofit brand clarity. Welcome to the podcast, Mike.
Hey, Courtney, so good to be with you. I'm glad to be here.
I'm excited to chat with you. Your agency is unlike any other. And so I'm ready to deep dive this with you. So walk me back to that mission trip to Haiti. What actually happened in that moment that made you know you could not go back to selling wireless and cable?
Ooh, let's get into it. Yeah, I like good, deep questions. So let's not talk about sports. Let's do other things. So back, let's see, the year was 2008. I had left a corporate climb at Sprint, lost a lot of things along the way. Some people have no problem with their corporate climb. I just was not one of those. Kind of gave up a lot of me into that, and I was crushing goals and having fun doing it. But I ended up, through that series of events, kind of having a big, come to Jesus moment. Had lost my marriage in that corporate climb. And so I found myself trying to search for something else, journaling, reading my Bible, and going on this mission trip to Haiti. July of 2008. It's hot and sweaty in the middle of Haiti. Man. And I witnessed these kids. One in particular, his name was Daniel, had like 4 buddies around him. And he's just, this kid is worshiping. He's dancing. He's got a smile to like die for on his face. And I'm like, I'm jealous of that kiddo. How in the world am I sitting here? Woe is me with my divorce and my big old job and my big old house and my big old career and my big old problems. And this kid showed me what hope and joy really are all about, because he didn't have any of that stuff. And he's got more joy than I've ever had in my dang life. And I wanted that. And I wanted it in a bad, bad way. So when I got home, I was like, I got to figure out how I do that. So I started journaling, started reading, started asking questions. And that inflection point and that experience has changed me dramatically. Just dramatically. God uses the situations. And for me, I needed a 2x4. And that was my 2x4 moment.
Yeah. Did you have a job when you were in Haiti, or were you kind of just on this self-reflection mode?
I was 30 and single and jobless. I was a catch by any stretch of the imagination. But no, I was jobless at the time. Had taken a package and left Sprint on God's, let's say, forceful prompting. Because I was I'm a planner, I'm a strategist, like they pay me for my ideas, Lord. And he's like, I don't care about that. I care about obedience. I don't really care about your plans, sir. And so my obedience took me to be jobless for about 17 months.
Wow.
And that's where I met Daniel. But I had to be jobless to meet that kiddo.
100%. What was kind of that next stage of starting your business, and what did it actually look like, not only emotionally, but operationally, to then think, my life is going to look so much different than when I was in the corporate world? Yeah. What was that path like?
Well, I went accidental entrepreneur to intentional entrepreneur. And so accidentally, I was like, hey, this nonprofit that I went to Haiti with needed help. They needed help in the worst way. Bad marketing, bad name, bad website, bad, you name it. They're the best kept secret. How many times have I heard that in the last 17 years doing this work? And they were the reason. They were the best kept secret. It was their own fault. And so for me, I really felt like it was a real opportunity to help them. And I thought this should be a project. Then I'll go back to telecom. That was the plan.
Interesting.
God's plan is very different. So for the first year and a half, I called this a project. Fervor wasn't really a business. I didn't go try to get other clients. Just one client, just help them. And at the end of that time, it was so clear I couldn't go back to working selling phones or selling wireless. As noble as lots of people make that work, that just wasn't for me anymore. And so I really endeavored to Fervor after that first year and a half.
Gotcha. Okay. So now, today, with Fervor, specifically faith-led organizations and nonprofits, how did you know that was the lane versus general agency work? Especially because if you're thinking about general agency work, there's probably a lot more upside, right?
Oh,
So how
100%.
did you
Yeah.
discern that, and how do you continue to discern that today?
Yeah. Yeah. It's not my choice, Courtney. This business wasn't my
Yeah.
choice. This life wasn't my choice in so
Hmm.
many ways. My choice is to be obedient. My choice is to steward what I got. My choice is to steward my time, have some boundary. Don't let the career become the idol that it had become before. Don't let
Yeah.
Mike 1.0 take over 2.0 again. I have some responsibility in that. But when it comes to the business, God's laid out. He's like, Mike, this is the hill that I need you on. And these clients are helping the Daniels that you got your life changed in. So we're about the Daniels. If you and your organization are helping move the kingdom in some meaningful way, then we want to come alongside and pour fuel in that tank. And they need
Hmm.
us to pour fuel in the
Hmm.
tank, not forever, but for a period of time. And that is the charge. And that doesn't mean it's been easy, because certainly there's more upside elsewhere. And certainly it also means we've we've had to make some decisions that are hard, because getting into some of this work, pro-life work and other work, man, the world doesn't want it done. There's a
No.
reason why the headwinds are so hard in a faith-based capacity. When you choose to plant a flag and actually talk about it publicly, oh Lord, hang on.
Yeah. Oh, I can't even imagine. So you wrote a book about this 3-question framework that you implement, I assume, on a regular
Oh yeah.
basis with the clients you serve. So tell me about this framework, who it's for, what are you going to tell them? How do you get more out of the right ones? So walk me through how this actually
Yeah.
plays out with the real client.
Yeah. It is the quintessential marketing, roadmap.
Okay.
In corporate work, they taught us how to do lots of these things. We're building a new product for the market. We do a business model canvas. If you read Verd Harnish, scaling up. If you're an entrepreneur and you're trying to scale something, and your term scale and pivot is part of your regular DNA, I got you. Sit down for a second. Here's what I'm going to tell you. Understanding deeply the target audience. One of the things that Sprint taught me how to do really, really well was understanding who's it for, a target audience persona. Typically, we say buyer persona. I'm saying advocate persona. Why? Because advocacy changes everything in the nonprofit space.
Mm,
When you don't have an unlimited budget like some of these big companies, to go run ad campaign after ad campaign and test and try and test and try, you've got to use the advocate side of things, where I have a voice. I have a version of influencer marketing today. Okay, it's a version of this. We called it advocate because it's more authentic and true for our context. But who's it for became really critical. And most nonprofits don't have a persona. They're like, we know who we're built for. I'm like, cool. Did you write it down? And they're like, oh, you mean like I could give it to you? I said, yeah. Can you email it to me in the next 5 minutes? They're like, no, can't do that. Well, then you don't have it. I mean,
yep.
God chose to write 66 books down and said it's really important. The words that we write down and the words that we say are really important. And we haven't, we act like it's not important for our businesses to write stuff down.
Hmm.
So a written who's it for, a target audience persona, we call them ideal advocates. What are we going to tell them? The message that matters to all those audience archetypes. And then how do we get more of the right ones? The way in which we're going to market, email, social, content, campaigns, a roadmap for the next 2 years or so of communication cadence. Anything healthy has healthy communication. Anything that really wants to grow in healthy and meaningful ways has an understanding of who's it for and what are you going to tell them.
Yep. Yeah. When you mentioned the write it down aspect, I similarly have a roadmap, right, from an ops perspective. And some of the things I ask, one are, what are your 3 strategic priorities for this year?
Yeah.
And they kind of, a lot of times hem ha, or what are your goals? What are your main 3 goals for this quarter? Or just so many different things like that you can say, well, it would be this, this, and this. And to your point, do you have that documented somewhere?
Right.
Well, no. Well, we can't assume you're actually
Right.
you
But
have the
everybody
process.
knows, Courtney. Everybody
Yes,
knows it, of
we know.
course. I've said it.
Right. Yes, I say it
Yeah.
every time.
I say it at every meeting. I mean, good, come on.
Yep, yep. So why did this become a book instead of just your process? That's one of the
Yeah.
questions in my mind.
Oh, good grief. Well, I got to go back. Like I was just being obedient here. In fact, some of the consultants even around me that are fantastically gifted people have said, "Are you really going to give that away? Like, isn't that your
Yeah.
secret sauce?" And I'm like, "Hey, I really don't think any marketing agency has any secret sauce. I just don't." Okay, like, and let's go with what the era that we live. We live in the era of Claude and AI. Like, is there really a lot of new ideas? There is discernment that is needed. And smart humans have great discernment. And those that actually have the Holy Spirit living in them have even more. And so, like, if we really want to get theologic about it for a second, we can. But let's just get pragmatic. If you're a business owner of any size and stripe, but of any faith persuasion, well, we got to have it. We have to have a written game plan, but we really need to understand that everybody has these same problems, whether you are 50,000 annual operating or you are 50 million annual operating. Like, it doesn't matter. And I've seen inside enough of these businesses to know they're all the same. We have people problems, we have growth problems. We're all challenged with similar, minutia notwithstanding, okay, challenges. And so we wrote the book for the smaller nonprofits that we just couldn't figure out how to serve really well. And I was tired of saying no to them. And so I was just being obedient. God's like, hey, release this. Just trust that, your secret sauce isn't going to be given away uncannily. And this would live beyond you. These are paradigms that everyone needs to know. And especially a faith-based business that's growing something meaningful needs to use. So that's what we did.
It also shows the discernment you had to say, you're too small for us. And instead of like, I think we can, as entrepreneurs, easily go down the path of like, yeah, but people keep wanting this. So like, now I need to do something new and different for them. And you built that. Yes, you did something new. You offered a book, but it wasn't to serve in this same level of service that you're offering to other nonprofits. So I think it's awesome that you also had that discernment of to not just go chase whatever shiny object is showing up next.
Right. Yeah.
That's hard.
It is super hard. It's super hard to say we're just going to be in the faith-based space because to your point, it's like we could, we can. Yeah. And certainly we've had others kind of, that don't fit into that model trip inside the door, and we serve well no matter what. But when we're intentional about our own marketing, who we're for, we have to message to it. We write content about it. We get knowledge in our team about it. And that's how any business differentiates itself. I mean, really differentiates itself, not just as we're the world's best customer service, like 100,000, other businesses, but actually says, this is who we're made for. And this is how we're going to serve, them relentlessly. And when you do that, saying no becomes not really saying no. You're just like, I'm doing what I'm here to do. And I let the rest of it kind of go by the wayside. So,
yeah, I think you earn credibility too when you can do that. So I don't think there's a bad thing either.
Yeah, it hasn't seemed to be too much downside for us so far. And for our clients, we try to help teach this paradigm. Stay the course. Like, you wrote down who's it for. Let's be myopic about it. When a board member says we should go run that golf tourney, and you're like, that's not for any of our ideal advocates. No. Then you're able to say like, well, which one's it for, sir? And they say, well, it's not for any of those. Then the answer should be what? And then they self-select, right?
Love it. Yeah,
so
I love that.
So it becomes kind of a decision framework inside for our clients. Really valuable.
So good. So when we prepped for this episode, you said if you could get clarity on one thing, it would be managing the agency swings, the unpredictable cycles that just steal your focus for a month, maybe a quarter. So what does an agency swing actually look like when it hits?
Yeah. Well, I've talked to a bunch of agency owners, and some call and they're like, hey, you've been in business 17 years. How did you do it? And I'm like, I don't know, man. I really don't. Like, a prayer, a journal, it's full, my counsel around me. How did I do it? Wise counsel around you. Get some wise counsel, kids. If you don't have it, better get it. Long time ago, I heard an FCA speaker say, you need a Paul, you need a Timothy, and you need a couple of Barnabas. If you can't write a name in those 4 boxes, get busy about writing names in boxes. I started there, But when we think about, what's it look like, to manage these swings, boy, tie some wise counsel up and get some people around you. put some cash in the bank and be ready for those things, because don't be surprised again. Once a year, my wife has to remind me, she goes, Mike, once a year, you've got a hard quarter, and you know it because you prep for it. Remember 6 years ago when we said we're going to prep for it? And so we put, 5 months of cash in the bank. Well, now you don't have to lose your mind or your team.
Yeah.
So what's it look like? Well, agency businesses like ours, typically look like they swing big projects in and out, or clients in and out. And, we're not supremely different. We intentionally graduate clients. So we want them for 2 to 4 years with us, and then we want to high five them on the way out the door. So there's an intentional graduation model, which means, as the key business development guy, there's also an intentional business development that I got to be doing to bring the right kind of clients into the mix. And when we want to be that focused on those kinds of clients, we don't just take anybody.
Yeah.
It's got to be timing for them and timing for us that matches up. So that can not all, match up in the right quarter. And so I want to have the freedom to say yes and no. And so I got to have a little bit of cash in the bank to weather those so that I can.
Yeah. Yep. Okay. So what are the things where you're like, don't do this if you're going through kind of that lull period?
Yeah. Don't just take any client. Don't pivot and refocus. So if you're in the startup game, that's a little different. When you're in an established business, once you pass 5 years and you kind of like, here's who we're for, and you've discerned that, you've got the wise counsel around. Well, then lots of times I see this drift. It's like, well, let's just bolt on something new. Let's just try something. I mean, they just kind of go wild and nutso. The other is, I always have to look back. Typically in this business, it means you weren't doing something 6 months ago. You want to be healthy and trim and ready for that, that marathon. That didn't happen last week, guys. That happened 3 months ago. And so you got to look back and say, what happened 3 months, 6 months ago that's now coming home to roost? Because it won't turn around that quick either. Now, you can go hustle up a client or two, but you can't go hustle up a quarter,
Yeah.
So I think you've got to also just be, I hired an EA earlier this year. In part, her job is to keep me accountable, to be consistent. So I preach consistency, and, sometimes it gets the better of me too. So I was like, hey, part of your job is to keep me on the business development consistency train. Like every week, did I hit my number? The lead indicators, if you're running EOS, if you're running some sort of framework, you've got a scorecard with some lead indicators. Those KPIs need paid attention to. Don't let them go red for very long, without making some material change and adjustment in your activity.
Yep. Oh, I love that you're implementing that, and you simply just slotted in your EA to do that. I think that's great. And I might have to
super helpful.
Might have to take that one for myself.
Yeah.
Sounds amazing.
She just kind of came up with this CEO schedule scorecard metric, like how healthy is my calendar? And I was like,
love it.
Oh, I love this. Where's this been for my last 17 years? I mean, like it really is. And so when you start to allow people some freedom too. So let me just give one more.
Yeah.
When we allow our people to still have freedom, what happens with so many entrepreneurs when stuff starts getting hard, they start pulling it back in. And I am absolutely no different than that, guys. Listen to me. I'm no different than that. But sometimes when you've gotten your teeth kicked in, as much as some of us have, and the 2x4 moments have happened, we finally start to say, gosh, maybe there's a better way. If I start trusting my team to do their job or empowering them to do more, then we can all get out of this together, as opposed to me just put more on my shoulder and let's go,
Yeah.
And so I think also I would be careful when you're in those times and your back's against the wall. Don't lose that character. This is what make or break those companies. When you want culture, this is where you get to practice it when it's hard.
Yeah. You provide this new opportunity. A lot of probably people on your team have never been afforded, and we need to offer them the opportunity to just soar and shine and succeed. And more often than not, when put up to that challenge, they will. They absolutely will.
Oh, yes. They'll rise with you. And then everybody gets to celebrate and high five together, as opposed to, ooh, look what the entrepreneur did again,
Yeah.
So.
Yes, exactly. Hey, I want to pause here for just a second. If what you're hearing today is hitting close to home, if you're recognizing your business in these patterns, I want you to know that it's not a coincidence. This is exactly the work I do with founders. I work with business owners who know something needs to change but haven't had the right person in their corner to help them build it. If that sounds like where you are, there's an inquiry form linked in the show notes. It takes about 3 minutes. Tell me where you are, what's not working, and what you're trying to build, and we'll find time to talk. Okay, let's keep going. Okay, so when we first met, you told me about working with Two Lines Pregnancy Clinic, which is
Yeah.
in my neighborhood, and huge fan. And also the rebrand was by Fervor, and I'm like, what? I mean, I got the
Yeah.
mailer, the whole thing,
Sweet.
letting me know about it. So what, kind of when you're involved in a nonprofit like that, what did donor engagement and client volume look like before for Fervor? And then how do you, set yourself up for success with that size of client, with that size of,
Yeah.
there's a lot I'm sure to take on
Yeah.
because you're not only internally working with the team, but you're reporting to a board of directors
Oh, yeah.
essentially in a way. How does how do you set yourself up for success with all of that?
Well, I don't think there's a magic bullet here, okay? But in this case, boy, we've had a lot of fun. Ruth Tisdale's their executive director. Ruth is just a fantastic woman, great leader. And, they were Advice and Aid Pregnancy Clinic when we got them. And, Ruth trusted a group like ours. We had not done a lot of PRC work or pro-life work before that. And my wife and I had prayed about getting into this category. We really
Mm-hmm.
felt called to. By the way, I think the marketing in this category is absolutely horrid.
Yeah.
And so I've got lots of opinions about it. But I wanted to be part of the solution, not just start throwing rocks at it. And we were knocking on doors. And finally, Ruth said yes. And so she trusted us. She's on a graduation pathway. So deep commitment for about 4-year stint. She did our brand impact assessment. She did a renaming, a rebranding, let us do both websites, let us be her marketing department. We even kind of wrote a script of who to hire. So she has a hiring roadmap for the next 3 years and has already made a fantastic hire and a marketing manager. And we're beginning to turn over some of our duties internal to build internal capacity. But gosh, the metrics have just gone out of this world. Her donor growth is north of 40%. But really, she had a big audacious goal to more than double the pregnancy tests and the women seen in clinic. And we're outpacing a double of the goal in a 15-month
Wow.
stint. And so she's seeing double digit, triple digit, month over month, year over year growth. And I mean, how many more? When I get to go back to my team and say, guys, this month, 63 more babies. Next
Yeah.
month, 72 more babies. Like, because of some of the work that we're putting in the market for her, the social, the content, the email, the paid media campaigns that are now getting, huge responses for this organization. And donors get excited about that. I'm not shocked, because when we can show that what we're doing is working, albeit a big investment for them. And so the board had to come along for the ride too. Early days, it was like Mike and Ruth in front of the board, and like, hey, I got my slide deck, and I'm helping side by side with her, and we're going to war together. And that's how I view it. We have a core value of committed allies, and we believe that our clients' causes are our causes. It's Daniel's, it's that Daniel story. And in this case, there's kiddos on the other end of that. And it's cost me pretty dearly. It's cost me an employee. It's cost me a partner. It's cost me, not nearly as much as it cost these PRCs. They're on the front line. I'm just trying to be a good supply line for them. So,
yeah, it's brave. It's brave work because it is such a polarizing topic, unfortunately.
yeah.
So what would you tell a similar clinic or a nonprofit that is seeing flat donor growth right now? Like like you said, the kind of the marketing message historically, at least in the pro-life movement, has not been great. So, whether it's in that movement or something else, what do you offer them?
Well, it's interesting. You bring up, kind of what are we seeing done to the Giving USA, report. That's the biggest report in our industry, just came out a couple weeks ago. And so it's giving us some new data. Mostly it's just a little bit of growth, but not quite flat. It kept just up past inflation in terms of overall giving. And, faith-based giving up a little bit more than that, but not much. So, we're just barely keeping right above water on inflation, which is a bummer. What would I tell them? I tell them now, when's the best time to plant a tree? Last year is the right answer. I mean, so if you haven't invested in marketing, I think it's living and breathing. There's not a secular business out there that says, well, I just really can't afford marketing. And I'm like, how many times have I heard a nonprofit say, we just can't really afford that? I'm like, you can't afford not to. That's just called living and breathing, kids. You want to be alive in 5 years or 10 years and have even a hope to solve the problem. By the way, let's just talk about efficacy of problem solutions here.
Yeah.
I want the world to have clean water, or I want babies to, be born that weren't. I mean, these are not small, easy challenges. The secular world's solving just like, easy challenges. Like I got a widget, like let me get you a really good Yeti cup and, keep your water cold. That's not a hard problem to solve. I mean, like, and I like my Yetis, okay? But like they spend millions on marketing and you're like solving hard problems and you're saying, I can't afford to. You can't afford not to. You don't grow without it. It's living and breathing. Every business model canvas I've ever read has a marketing component to it. Every book on scaling a business, every book on running a nonprofit, operations, they all will reference marketing and development. And to make no mistake, raising money, raising awareness is marketing at the core of it. It's just communication in some way, shape, or form. And so what would I tell them? I plant the tree today. Flat donor growth is a symptom, not the problem. So flat donor growth, if you're experiencing flat donor growth, it's a symptom. Look back, just like we're talking about business development, look back 6 months, look back 3 months. What were you not doing 6 months ago, 3 months ago? And if you don't have regular communications with your donors, that's a drumbeat. If you don't have a campaign of some kind running at least once or twice or 3 times a year, if we don't have some regularity and intention around who's it for and what are we going to tell them and how do we get more of the right ones, and I say right ones intentionally, then it shouldn't be a surprise that your donor growth's flat. Don't wake up and say, hey, we just need millennials, Mike, or we just need Gen Xers or Gen Zers or fill in the blank, which is what we get asked on a regular basis. Just bring us the new donors. I'm like, nah, I'm going to bring you a communications plan. I'm going to bring you a donor plan. I'm going to bring you a fundraising plan. That's what I'm going to bring you. That's what I'm going to point you to. Yeah. And if you don't have one written down, then you don't have one. So, that's what I'd say.
Yep. It's got to be written down every time. That's awesome. So you said you don't draw hard lines between work and life. It's all the same work. It's just, you're growing to kind of what things look like in each stage of life. So how do you show up practically as a CEO and boss and founder? You have the Bonifer, which we haven't even touched yet.
Oh, yeah.
Your event space. You're a husband and you have 4 kids all competing for your time and energy. Oh, yeah. So how do you kind of balance all of those needs?
Well, I'm not a big Seinfeld fan, but once upon a time I saw a Seinfeld episode where George was like, relationship George and friendship George never meet, Jerry. And he's like, if they met, then the world would end or something. I'm flubbing up this episode. Sorry, Seinfeld fans, but, and that's how I lived my life beforehand. 1.0 me was like, man, I had work Mike, and he would turn it up, he would show up corporate, ticked and tied, suit, like ready to go. And then maybe I had a little faith Mike. I had a little social Mike, but they didn't ever meet, they didn't talk. And that was part of the problem. I didn't really show up fully anywhere. Nobody ever really knew me. And it was my own fault, not anyone else's. And so people want to be fully known. They talk about being fully known, and then they're so short to share. And I just feel like I'm shooting for an integrated life on this 2.0 version, I got remarried after I lost my first marriage. God was gracious and brought Kim in my life, a mission trip to Haiti. We have 4 kids. Now, guys, this was not the plan to have a 4-year-old in my late 40s, okay? Not for the faint of heart either. Yeah. However, this is my life. And I think if you're willing to let him be the orchestrator of your plan, then it should be fair that you let him be in all aspects of your life, just like true friendships, just like true everything. So I want to show up the same on Sunday as I do on Monday, as I do on Wednesday. If I'm at a bar having a beer, I don't want somebody to be like, look, he looks different, sounds different. That's not what I want. I want to show up the same. And I'm not putting on a show anymore. At least I'm not trying not to. Some days I would lose that battle too. But most days I can go to war on that and win. And so fully integrated. So sometimes it's 2 p.m. and I'm going to go do something with my kiddos because I do have 4 kids competing. And I protect time with my wife. It has looked like, hey, Mike's done at 5. And at 7:45, when he puts the kids to bed, he's back at the, desk doing some work because he had to protect time, but he also had to go crush it. I'm not looking for balance. I'm looking for integration.
Yep.
And I think that's been my mental model for these last 15 years or so. Balance is so hard. It feels like a losing battle, but integration, I think I can do.
Yeah, I'm with you. I look at it as work-life integration, and every day is going to look a little bit different. I kind of like it like that.
Yeah.
I would get bored if it was all the same. If it was like I'm at my desk from, 9 to 5 and I never log on again after that, like that would be really hard for me to do. I do get swept up in like what the latest thing is, and I like can't stop until it's done. And so there was even an evening last week.
Courtney, that's okay.
Right.
That's how God made you, by the way.
Yes, he did.
It's messy this way though, right? Is it messy for you?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. But it's great. It works. Right. There's aspects that it's like, this was not what I envisioned for my evening, but this is what it turned into. And sometimes it's just the natural course. My husband can take over. Let me get this done and baked off because it's really important right now. And that's okay.
Yeah. I think this is, my wife, Kim, and I talk about this regularly, this integration that we're shooting for really in our whole kids. We want them to see us work. We want them to see us toil. We want them sometimes to hear us argue in the kitchen. We don't go in our room. We want them to hear us resolve.
Yes.
And that's, to me, what integration's all about.
Mm-hmm.
If they don't see me opening my Bible and I talk about faith to other people, what in the world am I doing?
Right.
And so they've got to see this. You can't have these nice, tidy little from 5 to 5:45, I have me time, and like from this. I mean, like you can shoot for that, guys. And I just and sometimes there's some real health in boundaries, but I'm kind of at war with this boundary thing. I'm like, yes, it's good to have like understanding there are some rules of engagement, but be careful you don't let the rules overtake your life.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
Just be careful.
I couldn't agree more. It's a necessary evil. And if my kids never saw me work, they would never know how much blood, sweat, and tears it took to get us to this point. Right. So it's going to be part of it, and that's okay.
Yeah. Has to be.
So if a nonprofit leader or faith-based founder listens to this episode and only remembers one single thing, Mike, what would you want it to be?
Ooh, I'd want it to be that that God's plan supersedes your plan. And, just like I was sharing, my plan wasn't to have kids this late in my life, little kids anyway, yes, kids, but not little kids. And I think too many nonprofit leaders I meet have a game plan and they think it's like, man, I got it. And I just looking for people to plug holes for me. Leave room for God to have his way, not just yours.
Yeah.
Now, what does that mean practically? Let me add on. So if that's one thing, then how do you make that happen? Wise counsel around you. And that's not just your board, kids. If you're a nonprofit, that's not just your board. I mean, wise counsel. Get 4 boxes filled in tomorrow. If you don't have them, do it.
I love that. I'm going to take it. I'm going to do it. So, Mike, where can people find you if they want to reach out, learn more about your agency, what you do, or just you personally?
Yeah. So a couple of, my wife and I continue to start new businesses all the time. And so there's lots of places, but Fervor is our main course of action. And so createfervor.com's our main URL. Our agency's in Midtown in Kansas City. We serve clients all over the country and a few overseas, and we love it that way. And so you can find us online in that way. And we also have an event space purpose-built for organizations to use for strategy meetings down in Midtown. Here in Kansas City. It's called the Bonhoeffer, named after a very strategic man, Dietrich Bonhoeffer. And you can find us at thebonhoeffer.com. So I invite you to those 2 places, and we'd love to chat. However the Spirit leads you and is prompting you, even if it's just hard questions, you're like, I have no idea what I'm in for. We love having those kind of combos. So doors open.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And we will also provide all of those details in the show notes as well for easy access. So you can go to that area and look for those links. Thanks again, Mike, for joining me today. I know your time is precious, so I really appreciate it.
Courtney, thanks so much. It's good to be with you.
If you enjoyed this episode, please leave a review and let me know what you think. Reach out to myself or Mike. We'd love to hear from you.